All right, here we are, day 10 of your 14-day growth challenge. Yesterday, we dove into the principle that production focus requires an intentional plan that helps drive and engage the day with efficiency. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most neglected aspects of a man's life, the powerful tool for how to exit the day, which is called reflection focus. So, let's dive in and let's be challenged with something new today. About 10 years ago, a mentor of mine, Byron Davis, who I've mentioned before and is also a frequent host on the Men of Growth podcast, he asked me a question. He said, Jade, how do you know if you're winning? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, how do you really know if you've had a successful day or not? And to be honest, I really couldn't answer the question. I mean, I tried, but I was actually just trying to come up with something that sounded logical as I tried to process what he had asked me. I hadn't really thought about whether or not I was winning the day. Basically, I mean, if I felt good at the end of the day, I would just try to keep doing what I was doing. But if I didn't feel good at the end of the day, I would just try something different. There was really no formal reflection or evaluation. It was just purely feeling to me. What I've come to understand is that we as men have the potential to greatly overestimate our abilities and performance by very high percentages. A while back, I was reading an article in Quartz, which is an online journal for business leaders. Apparently, in 1995, there was a middle-aged man named MacArthur Wheeler who decided to rob two banks in Pittsburgh in broad daylight. What's unique about this story is that this dude intentionally chose not to wear a mask or any sort of disguise for his robbery. Inside of 24 hours, this guy was arrested and he was actually surprised that he had gotten caught. When he was asked why he was so surprised, he said, "But I wore the juice." Apparently, this dude thought that rubbing lemon juice on his face would make him invisible to video cameras. He had heard that lemon juice was used as an invisible ink, and he concluded that as long as he didn't go near a heat source, he would be completely invisible. But what's even more interesting about this story is that the investigators concluded that this dude wasn't crazy or on drugs. He was just, what they said was incredibly mistaken. This story ended up catching the attention of a researcher and a psychologist by the name of David Dunning at Cornell University. Dunning and one of his graduate assistants at the time, a guy by the name of Justin Kruger, they decided to launch a study to find out how a man like MacArthur Wheeler would make such a stupid decision to rob a bank with lemon juice on his face. After extensive research, Dunning and Kruger found that people repeatedly overestimate their abilities and their performance in a wide variety of areas by as much as 65%. This has become known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, or more practically, the overconfidence effect. They found that it's a cognitive bias that inflates self-performance because of the unawareness that's associated with no real process of evaluation. Researchers have found that this overconfidence effect, it permeates almost everyone in their day-to-day life. I think a great example is found in these talent shows that we watch on TV today. You'll see shock in the faces of the contestants when they don't make it past the auditions and when they're rejected by the judges. I mean, it's pretty funny to us and entertaining to us, but it's amazing how these people are genuinely unaware of how much they have been misled by their own perception of how good they are. Dunning and Kruger found that individuals who regularly and critically assess their performance are those that are less likely to be fooled by thinking they are performing better than they really are. So again, as I've shared with you before, these concepts aren't principles that are new ideas. Confucius, he once said that real knowledge is knowing the extent of one's ignorance. And he lived over 2,500 years ago. Real knowledge is knowing the extent of one's own ignorance. So how does this apply to your personal growth? I opened today's training by sharing that my mentor Byron had asked me how I knew if I had a successful day or not. The question was an actual setup. He was setting me up to coach me in the value of exiting the day with two very simple questions. These two questions at the end of the day have become a profound tool for continual growth. Remember, if you're not growing, you're dying. So now it's your turn. Below is a download for you to review, along with a couple questions for you to answer as a part of your exit the day reflection-focused strategy. So dive into today's challenge, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Godspeed, and grow or die.